J.D. Lott and his wife Britney were eating lunch with their 8 kids on April 30th when he missed a call on his cell phone. The family was into a 3 years long cross-country homeschooling Instagram documented road trip in a bus that they had refashioned into an RV. Some of you guys have followed these guys online, and I have become fans of them over the years. They run an Instagram and TikTok account called American Family Road Trip, and they're here today to share a cautionary tale about what can happen to good parents when the Instagram takes on a life of its own and weaponizes child protective services. This is an important conversation. This is the Heidi St. John podcast. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Today's podcast is being sponsored in part by my friends at Tuvu. Check them out at tuvu.com and share what you want to share. That's tuvu.com/Heidi. The first 500 people are going to get 6 months for free. So check it out again, tuvu.com/Heidi. Well, I recorded this podcast a couple of weeks ago when I became aware of what was happening to JD and Britney Lott. It was shocking to me as a homeschooling mother of 7. We are seeing more and more incidents like this on the rise around the country. And I invited JD and Britney on just to talk about their perspective and what happened. And I hope this episode encourages you to cherish your families and to really pay attention to what God is doing in your life as you love your kids and homeschool them. I am, of course, a homeschooling mother of 7, so this story really resonated deeply with me. We are seeing an attack of parental rights around the country right now, and it is absolutely on the rise. The knives are out, as you're going to hear in coming weeks, for home education and for parents who choose to homeschool their children. And I hope that this story resonates with you. I hope you share it with your friends and your family members. And I hope also that if it resonates with you, that it reminds you that we need to pray for this family and pray for families around the country who maybe chosen a little bit of a different way to lovingly raise their children. And so without further ado, here is my interview from the road with JD and Britney Lott. So JD and Britney, welcome to the podcast. I wish you were here under better circumstances.
Yes, same.
Yes.
So this is interesting. You know, I cover a lot of freedom issue stories here at the show and have done this for, 8 or 9 years at least. And we're really seeing sort of the ramp up, if you will, of attacks against freedom-loving Americans. We absolutely have seen the political persecution, right, of opponents to certain Marxist ideologies in the culture. But something tells me you never thought you would be in the crosshairs of what is really an ideological battle taking place in the United States right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I never expected this. To be honest, we're both veterans. We both believe in freedom of speech. We see nothing wrong with that. I have people that disagree with me all the time online, and I feel like that's a positive thing to disagree with someone. There's been a confusion, I think, lately as to what difference of like disagreeing with someone and having the free speech platform versus an actual crime and attacking someone, and what the difference actually looks like. And in our case, it was basically people trying to go from just saying things that they disagree to using the government to try to weaponize it and take our children from us.
Yeah, that's the crux.
That's the word. Yeah.
That's the crux. The government is not like the systems. This is like regretfully a common story. And so while we regret that this happened to us as well, this happens to a lot of other people that don't have platforms and are maybe not as high of a profile as we are. And, we get all kinds of messages, direct messages about this on a regular basis, just explaining their stories, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But what this ultimately results in is this is like an archaic system that allows like activists to weaponize the government against other people. And regretfully, that's like the weaponization of government is kind of seen across many different aspects in areas of government as well.
Yeah, it's true. And I think until we start to see a change in leadership, we're going to continue to see this happening. Let's go back to the very beginning, because there's a lot of people listening to the show right now who are like, what? JD and Britney, who are these guys? Tell us how this whole thing started, like way back to the very beginning.
So we travel full time. We have 8 children, and we homeschool them. We share our love for the Lord with them, and we share that joy of family online with our followers on Instagram. We have for years now been traveling all across
So
the
our,
United
our
States.
Instagram handle is American Family Road Trip. Okay, so Brittany's been documenting our travels just as a fun diary of what we've done. And obviously, we're followers of Jesus Christ, and we're not willing to hide that to make people comfortable. We're just willing, and we're also not here to tell people how to live their lives.
We
That's a
just
decision they
share
have to make.
we just share our story and share our journey and our travels. And it turns out a lot of people really enjoy seeing that. We have a positive, uplifting account. I try to, just encourage others to love their family and just really enjoy their children while they're young and they're under their roof.
Well, and just that family is something that's been taken for granted. I mean,
For sure.
this is like kind of like our perspective in a lot of ways that we share on the Instagram. Family has been taken for granted. Now in the United States, like the birth rate is well below replacement level because family has taken a backseat to people's own personal ambitions or whatever you want to call it, right? Security, safety, and these things aren't necessarily true. One of our mantras is that relationship is the currency of life. We want to be wealthy and meaningful relationship. And if you look at scriptures, that's what the scriptures are. The lion's share of what they're talking about is how God desires us to interact with him and other people. And, having children is not in everybody's plan, God's plan for them. But what we're trying to say is like God's plan for you is like a better plan for you than you can envision yourself. And that's kind of our goal.
Good.
I mean, we're not perfect by any means, but that's what we've tried to live that out. And we, at 3 kids, we were like, are we just going to keep having kids? Like, what do we do? Like, because the world around us just has 2 kids and it's done, right? And we're like, well, these are the truths that God shared with us, like very clearly in Scripture, that children are a blessing. Just because I don't know why they are doesn't mean it's not true. And as we've had more children,
We can see the blessing.
Yeah.
It's very obvious with their unique personalities and character traits, and just the dynamic as our family has grown and what it's become is just such a beautiful thing that I'm honestly very proud of. And I enjoy sharing with others with that. So when we had our last baby, our most recent baby, I should say, he is 4 months old now.
Boone.
Little Boone. It
Such
was
a great name.
Thank you.
They have some pretty wild names. So
they're all historical in reference.
I love that. I love it.
But yeah, so whenever he was born, I was obviously so excited. I had him very quickly. Wound up having him in our home.
Hold up. First contraction, 12:19 a.m. Boone came at 12:49 a.m.
Whoa,
She slept
that's
through
fast.
stage 1 of labor completely because her body has been through this before.
I have a little practice, obviously.
She whacked me, and I she's like, I'm having a contraction, and I got ready.
So yeah, he did come very quickly.
We didn't have time for a midwife to get there or, to get to the hospital. The baby, Boone came literally in 30 minutes, and she delivered him in our shower. And
thankfully healthy, everything was great.
Amazing. So grateful.
Such a blessing. Obviously sharing that joy with everybody online, and super excited about that. But that's whenever it turned into a little kind of crazy story because people disagree with our beliefs, disagree about our children. I have received messages even before him that I shouldn't have this many kids. I should end this.
Yeah, just the typical anti-human.
It's a leftist
mindset.
A leftist trope that children are a burden rather than a blessing. It's interesting. I did an interview with my friend Pastor Phil Hopper a couple of days ago, and we were talking about the blessing of children, answering a question from a listener. And Phil happened to share that he wished in hindsight, I mean, he's my age, so both of us are probably in our mid-50s, and he said that in hindsight, he had really wished that they had had more children. and they stopped having children at 3 because, you grew up in the 80s and that's just what
Hear
you
that all
did,
the
right?
time.
Nobody questioned it. No one talked about it. But he said he really wished that he and his wife had had more children. And I said, somewhere along the line, the Lord had really changed my heart and my husband's heart toward children. And God ended up giving us 7 children. And I offended a bunch of people who got onto my
Right?
social media and they were just like,
How dare you have kids?
people don't have to have children. Why are you saying people have to have children? Well, I never said that. I just said that God says children are a blessing. And I think, and not everybody wants that kind of a blessing, and that's okay, right? He just said children are a blessing, not a requirement. That's not in the Bible. He said, be fruitful, multiply. So if you've had one, you've done the thing, right? So, but it was amazing to me how people inject their, whether it's their own hurt or maybe their,
they project their issues onto us.
they feel like me saying children are good is the same as me saying that you not having more children is bad, which isn't what
And it's not
I
the
did at
same
all.
thing.
That's right. Not the same thing. But what I'm trying to say is I understand where these attacks toward you are coming from because I get them here at the show as well. And I think it's just, we got to stop with this easily. We're so easily offended. Just because someone has chosen to have a lot of children doesn't mean they're saying that you're bad because you didn't. We are saying that God says children are a blessing, and we want to reframe the conversation in the United States where we elevate abortion and the DNC brings abortion vans to their convention to say, hey, no, God's word says that actually children are a blessing. And so we're here to bear witness to that. Nothing more, nothing less.
And really, I mean, I know you mentioned it's a leftist trope. Really what it is it's a trope from people who haven't experienced the value of healthy, meaningful relationships. So they're coming from like broken issues in the past, and they think that everybody else's family has to be like theirs. Well, it doesn't, because we love our family, and our kids are so excited when we have another baby because we genuinely take the time and effort to grow our relationships together, to get good at being together.
And let me point out that we don't come from homes that this is a generational thing. We're the first ones to have a large family. And we're the first ones to sit there and say, you know what, let's try to do things differently. And we're really reaping the benefits because I have all these amazing kids that I enjoy being around.
That we
I
had
actually
a part in raising, that we taught them like, hey, lying's bad, and not only am I going to try the best that I could possibly do by showing you how to live, but I'm also going to help reinforce these concepts by explaining like, why is lying bad? And you do that with life, and life gets better, And anyways, I think it's just a kind of, honestly, I hate to use the word, but I think it's kind of like a systematic brainwashing where people no longer see children and families as valuable, and really that's the cornerstone of society. So if you've got that part messed up, then what are you even doing? Like,
It's true. Well, you guys ended up on the receiving end, right? Because people get upset, right? Everybody has an opinion. It's Instagram, it's social media, and you get a message from somebody online who said that your child was sunburned, severely jaundiced. Basically, the implication was you weren't taking care of this child, right? You were neglecting the child. So what did you do? You delete the message, you block the sender, and then what happens?
Yeah, the first one I just thought it was a lone wolf type crazy. Okay, I'm like, we're going to take the stress away from your life by just blocking you so you don't have to see me and feel that anxiety.
And I don't want to hear you like creating the impression for anybody else that we're medically neglecting our children. Like, you don't get to like hijack our life and our efforts and love for our family and turn it into something that's considered evil. Oh, that's what God calls blasphemy. Anyways,
but I actually had a few other followers tag me in it and be like, hold on, like, because it didn't match my normal comments. You know what I mean? And so I was like, yes, thank you, took care of that. Well, a few days later, we actually wound up leaving we were at a campsite in Florida, and we left there, went to visit some friends, and we get a phone call from a
child protective investigator standing in the site that we like had. So basically, she calls and said, "Hey, where are you guys?" And we're like, "What do you mean?" Like, well, we've got a allegation that your newborn baby is
And she just rattles it off.
just the same, lethargic, um, severely sunburned, and jaundice. This three-part quote that was said in a comment that was then repeated to us by the child protective investigator. We
Wow.
said, we've left the area. What would you like us to do? And she basically said, I'm gonna, I guess I'll.
She was like, so
talk to my supervisors.
you're not here, you're not coming back. And we were like, no, we've left. She's like, okay, sounds great. So we hang up, and it's like,
not too long later,
I guess that's done. I mean, I don't know what the thing is, but we are having lunch. We miss a phone call from, just missed a phone call. Not even 15 minutes later, he gets a text message from the supervisor of the Florida Child Protective Services,
or Department of Children and Families, but we'll call it like CPS because that's what everybody else calls it largely. But he said, "Hey, I need you to get back in touch with me. If I don't hear from you, whatever within whatever amount of time, I forgot what the whole thing was. We're going to issue a nationwide order to take custody, or an order to take
moly.
custody."
So outside of Florida now,
outside of Florida,
anywhere in the nation, you're not
nationwide
safe.
manhunt begins.
Nationwide, we're going to take your kids, and we're over here like it's only been 15 minutes. Like we barely missed a phone call. Even then, I wouldn't even answer my phone. It's like a different number,
Right,
but he actually legit missed it. I mean, if you had called me, I'd have been like, nope, it's a spam. He actually missed it, and this is what we're getting. Like, it's like, there's not even
so we're
time
eating
to
lunch,
listen.
and then I get the text message, and you're a captive audience with text messages. You're looking at it. So boom, I look at it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what is happening? Called him back immediately. He repeats the same allegations, and he says, you need to give me a good faith effort that you're not on the run. And I was like, okay, I've explained to your child protective investigator that we have a social media account with hundreds of thousands of followers, and that we've had a group that we come to find out on Reddit that regularly trolls us and says terrible things about us, right?
Yeah.
We abuse our children, just everything under the sun. It's disgusting, and these people are weirdos. I shouldn't say that, but seriously,
it's true.
They're weirdos.
It's fine.
Why are they so fixated on our lives and that they have to involve themselves? It's this broken mind, brainworm ideology that they have to tear other people down. It's culturally normal to have these masochistic ideas about damaging other people's families. But what happened when traditional
from
values,
your parents' basement?
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that have experienced pain. A lot of these people say that they're Christians, right? And regretfully, everybody says they're Christians nowadays. And so that's why it's like the best and worst testimony of Christianity is the life of a Christian. You've got people that have been on their soapbox for decades and hundreds of years saying they're doing this in the name of Christianity, but they're perpetuating their own ideologies and stuff. So anyways, a lot of these people call themselves Christians, but they have this broken perspective that children are bad, that family is bad, that having them, you must be a weirdo. If you have larger families, that's an even bigger sign that you're crazy. No. And so this group of people has been after us for 2 years, come to find out, and they've concocted these these vastly embellished stories about, we have a sheepskin that Boone sleeps on, and this girl goes and talks about I remember having one and I used to choke on it. Well, in other countries, that's a luxury item. That's people spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to have that because it's so good for young children. And then they just spin this whole story into, oh, they went into the sun. Look how he's sunburned and blah, blah, blah. And so basically,
it's like I can't walk in the sunlight. It's just it's a very odd fixation that's happening on us. And they're all in this anti-Christian Reddit group that says on their bylaws that to be in it, you have to be against Christianity.
It can't be anti-Islamic. It can't be,
anti-Buddhist, or it lists all the different types of beliefs, and it's this is only for Christians. And I'm you can't.
Funny enough, this group has shut themselves down because the moderators at Reddit are the ones responsible for maintaining the community guidelines, such as not targeting people based on race or etc. Right? But these moderators are just as radical as the people that they're moderating, and they're actually the ones that are perpetuating a lot of this craziness. And so Reddit doesn't enforce anything. It's actually their moderators that do. And then when the heat started to come, because
they shut it down, but
yep,
they started a new group and just took the name out, and they said, "Oh, join over here." Because this is why we're getting in trouble, is because it said anti-Christian.
yep.
And I was like, I don't know if that changes it.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Like,
these people are just constantly harassing us, and it's like, I'm still going to live my life. I'm sorry, that you're kind of in that place that you are, and God willing, like He reaches into your life and like helps you, but at the end of the day, you have to kind of submit to that too. Um, yeah. So basically, on Reddit, they coordinated to make false accusations. One of the Redditors said, "Hey, I found out where they are." So they actually went to a different Reddit group. They took a
That is
screenshot from our social
crazy.
media
they took
and they
pictures,
said, "Does anybody in this like Reddit, which is like Reddit, find where is this from?" And they like put this picture on there, and they're like immediately like, "They're at this place right now." So this lady, or I'm,
and we were at a state park. So, they sit there and they say, "This is where it is." They post it on the Reddit account, which we have copies of all of it, where they say, "Hey, I know where they are. Um, DM me. I will tell you what to say."
Which
To
regretfully,
the
the investigator has not asked me for any of this. I had to ask him, like, "Do you want this information? Is this
Yeah,
But
material to what you're
we have it
doing?"
where they say, "We'll tell you what to say. I'm a CPS worker in this state. I know what words you need to make sure," so they actually go and check on
Yeah,
the kids.
DM me if you want to know where they are, and you can make your own report too.
And
So, anyways,
so,
these people make these allegations, and so here we are. The guy calls us. He's telling us he has an order to take custody of our children that's valid nationwide. We're in manhunt territory.
and he's like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And he says, "Pull over on the side of the road,
We'll send you a
and we'll
safety worker.
send you a safety worker to check your kids."
Okay, so your safety worker is going to be able to have the medical experience to tell if my child has jaundice. Like, I wouldn't put that on a police officer. Let's just be real. So basically,
So,
what
JD says first, he says, "Okay, hold on. The side of the road." I'm thinking, I've seen other videos on TikTok and Instagram. There's no way we're going on the side of the road. I want a professional, right? And he goes, "Okay, what if we go to a police station with like all the
more
police,
than one
more than
person,
one person,
that can just
right,
maybe they have a bad childhood
and
and they don't like large families or something.
right,
I
100%.
don't
Yeah,
want somebody's
who's showing
personal
up?"
life
right.
experience to interfere with like a professional decision they have to make. But I told him first, I said, "Listen, I understand what you're expecting of me. I would like to contact legal help and make sure that my rights are being represented in this situation."
Well, first he asked the police officer, and he says, "No, no, no, just pull over." And that's when he immediately goes, "Let me call an attorney, because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure about this." And he said, "Well, we already spoke to our attorneys.
And we know
Everything
what
I'm
we're
doing
able
is
to do.
legal."
Okay, fine, but I'm going to talk to mine.
And he's like, "Well, I've never been in a situation."
I mean, I'm not an attorney. I just play one on my podcast, but I also watched Chips when I was a kid. And everyone who's ever watched like CSI, we know that is not right. Like, they're not supposed to do that, right? So every red flag now, I would imagine. I mean, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and I'm imagining this is terrifying, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to disparage social workers, but I'm just saying, you know what? Social workers, one person gets to decide if your child gets taken from you, or children. And the average time a child is taken away from you is 14
months before they're given back.
So I'm like, let's talk to our attorney, or get an attorney and figure this out.
That is no joke.
Yeah. So we call Family Freedom Project.
So we're Texas residents. We born and bred, love Texas. And so we call back home. We're like, we need help. We're supposed to be on this great trip, vacation at our favorite spot. We're on our way to see friends now. What can we do? Can you help us? And they were amazing. They got us an attorney in Texas immediately, and within, I guess,
2.5 hours probably. Had us a Florida attorney, both of which are familiar with dealing with
these type of cases and
Child Protective Services.
this situation. And so, it felt like time stood still for us, but
So
all in all,
basically,
that was pretty quick. I feel like looking hindsight to get
so
help.
we were very grateful for the Family Freedom Project intervening and like just stopping everything that they did to help us out. So ended up talking to the attorney, Lynn Salvatore. She's great. And I said, hey, listen, I think the best strategy here, why don't we go to like a children's hospital where there's medical professionals that can make a determination as to the health and well-being of our children, because it shouldn't be the police officer's responsibility to make a medical determination, because that's not his profession. And it shouldn't be a safety worker. If we're going to be all like politically correct and have everybody with a proper job doing stuff, let's do that. So we called back and said, hey, we will meet. So we were in Georgia. We'll meet you at a hospital to have that deals with newborn children, to have them make a medical determination. And he said, okay, let us know when you get there. I'll send a police officer out there.
And how old is Boone at this point?
He's like 2 weeks.
He's like
2
around a
week-ish
week.
weeks. And so, he was probably right at 2 weeks. And so we get there.
These people have already said he's blind.
Oh, clubfoot.
Clubfoot. He's got like an issue with his hands being locked up. I don't know if you've ever seen a newborn being a mom of 7. Their hands kind of stay closed for a little bit because they're just like, they don't know how to use them yet.
That's pretty normal. Yeah.
I mean, we owned a children's business for 10 years, and I've been around young children that portion of my career. And these people have no idea what they're talking about, but they've concocted all these things again, just to show you the lengths that they're willing to go to create. Oh, we have, cerebral issues for the child.
Can you imagine like just the time and energy that these wackadoos have to put into this to go after a family that they don't even know? Yeah.
And if you hate us so much, why would you wish something on an innocent child? Like, what is this newborn baby have?
We're like an avatar for what they hate in the world. Like, like this is like our current world is like. One of the benefits of being connected is we have access to more information and opportunities, et cetera, that we previously wouldn't have had. It's a Pandora's box. We're never going back. One of the other things about it, too, is people with mental illness also have more tools and resources at their disposal to increase the level of fixation on stuff that they shouldn't be doing. Look at pornography destroying families. It's always done that, but it's like even more so now. And then you've got these people who have said, my life's goal is to take down, people that I don't agree with that are like fascist or what do they want to say. It's like, I'm just trying to live my life. I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your life and whatever. I'm just trying to live my life, and we want to encourage families, right? Yeah. And at the end of the day, people don't like us, so they project their feelings on us and make us the target. And it's really weird. It's actually kind of low IQ to do that, but that's how they operate. So, what do you say?
I think we're seeing more and more of it. There is sort of just a disdain. It was absolutely on display at the DNC, just a few days ago, where their disdain for, Kamala Harris gets up in front of these, all these crazy people at the DNC and says, I'm going to secure your reproductive rights, AKA I'm going to make sure that you can have abortion up until the moment of birth. And the camera just happens to pan over to a young man, a young father, I'm assuming, who's holding what looked to me to be maybe a 2-week-old baby. And I just thought the irony is just lost on these people, right? And so you're watching sort of this anti-Christian, anti-homeschooling, anti-parental rights rhetoric that's really being spewed on Reddit and other places around the internet. But these guys took it to a whole new level, and you ended up having, so you got reported to Child and Family Services, and then at what point, as I'm understanding it, Ron DeSantis steps into the conversation. Is that right, or am I getting it wrong? Or
nope.
Yeah.
So
Ashley Moody, the district attorney.
We're obviously innocent. The hospital's like, no way. There's nothing wrong with your kids. There's nothing wrong with his baby or you as parents. And the police officer's apologetic. He's over there giving my kids tours of his truck and stuff. He's like, please, you're good.
The police officer shows up, and we're standing out there in front of the van, right? And we're like, are we good? I mean, what do you want? Do you want us to sing a song for you or something? Like, what is going on?
Crazy.
And I said, well, I wasn't rude, we were all like in shock. Like, this
Well, it's
police officer
traumatizing.
could take you from us. Like, we had these conversations
We
with the kids
we
on
had
the
to
way to the
call my
hospital.
mom and get a backup plan. We had to, my mom, my sister were ready to come in to fly out to come get our kids. My grandparents don't live too far, but it's like, are they allowed to go to them? They're older. We're trying to figure all these things out, and so we're just standing there
We're
like
kind of trying to prepare.
looking
We're
at.
doing what we can to prepare our kids' hearts and minds for what might happen if they're separated from us.
Ugh.
And
So
so, he comes up and he's like,
I said,
what is he's like, hold on.
she
So
goes,
he
"Do
goes
you
and
live in your
talks.
van?" And we were like, "No, this is our car."
There's
He was
not
like,
enough
he was
room
like,
for us in the
"What
van.
am I doing
he was like,
here?"
let me go inside. So he talks to them at the medical staff, and he comes back out and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. The state of Georgia would never take your children or even be questioning you. He was like, I don't know. I'll call Florida. He gets off the phone with them, and then he's literally like, so police are good. Can I give you a sticker?
Yeah,
What can I do?
he was a
It
great
was just,
guy.
he was really nice,
The
very
medical
helpful.
staff talked to Brittany. One of the nurses was about to give birth, and she was going to have a home birth, and she was just irate. I mean, the other
Hmm.
medical staff there were just like, "This is criminal. What's
It is.
happening?" Because
Yeah.
look at our family. Like, these people want to know our family's entire medical history, right? They want to know every single medical treatment they have so they can target us. What they basically are is anti-individualists. You must comply with the narrative of Big Brother or whatever, and we are the foot soldiers to beat down and fight against anybody who doesn't, who lives their own life and lives according to their own convictions.
So,
Thankfully,
for months, I received messages, just show us where you've taken your kid to the doctor. Why can't you just give us these medical records? Why can't you just tell that? That's none of your business. I've never given
Right.
my children's medical information online. Like, that's insane to expect someone to do that, just because they have a social media account.
yeah.
And so
Right.
it just didn't make sense, for any of this. The Family Freedom Project, though, has really helped us get the word out, helped us to make sure that we were able to share our story and, get it out there. And so, to be honest,
Because it impacts so many people.
well,
Ton
it's an
of, yeah,
embarrassing
totally.
story. It's truly embarrassing. I
We
did
don't want to
not
talk about
want
it.
to share. I didn't want to tell anybody for a while. They were like, please, can we? And it took a lot of time and prayer and thought to say yes, because the fact that anyone, even someone as, far away as across the country in a
Even
different
as
state,
somebody with different ideological beliefs than I do, I
thought
don't
I
think
was a bad
somebody can take their
mother.
children away from you, and maybe we have an opportunity to say something about it and get something changed. Ideally, that happens. Not super pumped about going over it all the time because you just want to like hide. Like, I don't want to deal with the pain and the struggle anymore.
I'm sort of watching, on the other side of this, and I, fairly well known. I ran for Congress, and we've had some kind of weird things happen to our family. And the first thing that sort of comes to my mind, looking at your Instagram account, it goes, it's pretty darn close to 700,000 people that are following you there. Does it make you kind of want to go, nope, never mind. We don't need social media. We could be done with this and just kind of live your life out of the public eye?
It definitely makes us rethink how we share and how often, and like in the sense of, I've always shared delayed, but now I'm very delayed. I don't want anyone
Yeah.
to show up unannounced because they're upset that Florida didn't take my kids and they're going to
Yeah.
do something
Right.
about
I mean,
it.
we already have followers that like take pictures of us on a regular basis, like
Oh, dude,
literally
that happened
anytime
to
we're
me.
out.
We ended up taking, years and years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago now, we had the RV that we traveled in had signage on it,
Hmm.
and we took it all off because somebody took pictures and like they were following my family. So someone would say, "Oh, hey, I saw you at a rest stop off I-84 and whatever, better hang on to your kids." Terrifying. You don't
Yeah.
know who
Yeah.
you're talking to. You don't know where these people are. You don't know what they do for a living. And at that point, my husband and I were like, that's it. Like everywhere we go, we basically go incognito now. It's just sort of the way of the world right now, but it's too bad when you consider that we have allowed ourselves to get to the point where this evil has been weaponized, and
Yeah.
they can take innocent people in a weird Reddit group that's operating out of their mom and dad's basement, can make slanderous claims about somebody else, and these guys could potentially ruin your life and take your kids. That's no
Yeah,
laughing
without a
matter.
burden of proof other than the fact
Yeah.
that they're really convicted about what they're saying. I'm
Yeah,
really
right.
convicted about it. And
Yeah.
look, I created this whole story. I'm not going to tell you that I fabricated myself like from, thousands of miles away or just watching on their Instagram. I don't want to tell you all that because then you'll realize that I'm actually a nut job. But the other
Right.
part about it
Right.
is, sorry, I mean, I don't believe it's like rude about it, but golly, just to do that to
Well, no,
somebody
but
else, like,
it's
what?
true, but it's true. And I think we need to be able to have honest conversations. It's why, forever and ever, since the dawn of the beginning of the transgender conversation, I've been saying we have to be able to tell the truth.
I
And
mean,
this is
yeah,
crazy.
it is
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. I never expected that the state wouldn't check. I mean, goodness, I can't open a bank account with proving my ID, my personal face,
But I can
they want
submit
a
a report
thumbprint.
to get a child taken from their family with like no skin in the game.
I'm like, $20 in the bank? No, but this,
That is the point. No skin in the game is absolutely the point. And it's kind of where we are as a country right now. I'm really hoping. I mean, ideas have consequences, elections have consequences. And for a long time in this country, we've sort of been sliding down this weird socialist, Marxist slope that we're on where everybody's in everybody else's business. But I will say, like, there is a major downside to social media right now. And I'm hoping that young parents, especially who are listening to this, really take your story. And I mean, I hate to say, gosh, they're gonna scare us offline because I'm not going to get offline. You're not going to get offline. But it
Well,
absolutely makes you want to go, okay, we need better protection than what we've got.
and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise awareness to change laws, and we are actively doing that right now. That was the blessing of all of this, is that it brought to light, okay, obviously our current laws are not made for our internet age.
yeah.
They are antiquated, and we need to make some big changes to put in protections. But I don't think the answer is getting offline. I don't think the answer is hiding
Mm-hmm.
and hoarding our families away and not saying anything, or standing up for what we believe in. Because I'm going to be giving this country to my children and my
Right,
grandchildren.
right,
This is not
right.
a my
Yeah.
problem only, if I hide long enough it'll go away situation. This is kind of the hill I'm willing to die on. They will
Mm-hmm.
be free in this land.
Mm-hmm.
I signed the contract, and I fought in the United States Air Force. He was in the Army, and we're not done as parents. We will be making
Good.
Yeah. And I
changes.
mean, people say, well, why are
Good
you
for
on
you.
online still? Well, here's the deal. We're right over the target with the messaging that needs to be delivered to people. That
That's
family is a
true.
positive and good thing. And if
Yep.
the people that are attacking us are this really odd, anti everything traditional subset of people that, in my estimation, it's a growing number in the ranks, but it's still like a marginal at best. Like, we're going to let them set the pace for the world and the tone of
Yep.
Nope.
rhetoric and communication. Harley Davidson
No.
didn't like the Robbie Starbuck deal that just went down. John Deere, all these guys are pivoting around because they realize that this, like, anti-human, like, anti-individual liberties, anti-free speech, just anything that has any semblance of truth to it that doesn't comply
Mm-hmm.
with their truth needs to be shut down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely true. Where do you guys go from here? I mean, and can people get involved in what you're doing? Are you asking people to pray for you? What is there anything that the listeners of this show can do to sort of help you keep this ball going down the field?
I would be most encouraged if you are a grandparent, if you called your kids and you fixed your relationships with them and you spent
Mm,
time loving your children and your grandchildren and doting on them, not in a way that makes them be naughty, but actually developing and growing in those relationships. That's the core. I
mhm.
If
absolutely
we
would
can
appreciate
build
prayers for this too. But
ultimately, if we can build strong families, we can build strong communities, and that's where we make true change. That's
Yep.
where we take our country back and correct it. It's not going to be someone up in Washington that saves us. It's not going to be some law. The laws will help, and that's what we are actively doing on our end, but it's ultimately in your house. If we can rebuild those connections and make a strong foundation, then I think that's going to have the biggest reach. So you can definitely follow us on our Instagram at American Family Road Trip. to see what we're specifically doing. But that I think that would be the best bet. And then, yes, we will always take prayers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think it was Mother Teresa that said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And I can tell you now, as a grandma of 5, they call me Mamsie. The very best thing that Jay and I ever did with our lives was have a passel of kids and raise them to love the Lord. And it's been a lie of the feminist movement and the modern Marxist, a socialist movement that decries children as burdens. God says they're blessings. And I'm excited, you guys, to see what's going to happen in the months ahead as you continue just to walk boldly and talk about what is actually important in this life and what God values. And one of the things that God values are children and families. Families are the cornerstone of healthy societies. When we don't have healthy families, when we don't love what God loves, we have a culture in chaos. And that's exactly where we are right now. And I know this has not been fun for you, but I have a feeling, God says in his word that what Satan means for evil, he will use for good. And I think this is going to be used for good in the days to come. So JD and Britney, Lott, thank you guys so much for coming on the show, for sharing your story. I'll be praying for you, and I will definitely be staying in touch and following you guys, obviously publicly, but I hope also privately, and just praying for you along the way. I wish you guys the very best. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks
for having us.
I've got several events that I'm going to be speaking at this fall. I hope to see you at one of the events. The first one I'm coming to is in Marion, North Carolina this weekend for the Salt and Light Policy Conference. This is a really important event if you are interested in politics in North Carolina, and I hope that you are. Listen, the country's on fire right now, and I'm really excited to go there and encourage the men and women to get out and be a part of what God is doing politically in the United States. After that, I'm going to be at the We Believe, We Vote event in Spokane, Washington on October 5th. October 11th, I'll be in Montrose, Colorado for Awakening a Warrior. It's a homeschool conference for women, and all women are encouraged to attend. Right after that, I'll be in Columbus, Ohio for Inspire, an evening with Heidi St. John. That's October 13th, and that is being sponsored by my friends at Salem Media. Shortly after that, on October 26th, I'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina for the Extraordinary Women's Have Faith Tour. They're expecting thousands of women to show up for that event. Again, that's in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you want more information about these events, you can go to HeidiSt.John.com/events. For more information on my guest today, you guys can head on over to HeidiSt.John.com/podcast. Follow these guys on Instagram. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I'm not going to lie. I've been following them for a long time. I think you guys are going to love their story and their journey as much as I do. And it's also a cautionary tale. Watch what's happening in the culture right now, and be asking the Lord to show you what you can do to defend family, faith, and freedom right here in the United States. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you back here again at the intersection of faith and